Hi and welcome to Monday Live. I've got a jumper on, as you'll see, on top of my shirt today. I think that's not unreasonable. I've even got the heater clicking on every so often, probably during it. It is cold, isn't it? And it's supposed to get colder tomorrow, I think. I thought it was going to be icy today, but it was okay here. We had a nice walk into school with Alfie. But tomorrow I think there'll be a fair bit of ice about, so we'll see. Just come back from Denham doing the Reboot Your ACL. We had some fun on that. You can hear my voice is a little bit hoarse. So. But no, it was good. And so looking forward to getting back in the mix. We're doubling, of course, double annui. So we'll be responding to doubles, but I want to hear about all your doubling, please. I need you to be doubling more. That's the most important thing this month. Double more. If you think about doubling, double. Might not be right, but you'll learn afterwards. Now, most importantly, of course, today, it's a happy birthday. Happy birthday to Mr. Bridge. My father is, well, I won't tell you how old he is, but it's his birthday today. So we'll be going out for a meal later. But he's going strong, nice and fit. So I hopefully have a nice evening with him. And on Fridays, of course, we are protecting. We are bidding in the fourth seat. Okay, so we're continuing that theme and having some fun with it. And we'll see how we go with that. For the most part, we're still on the simple auction, one of a suit, pass, etc. And then we're going to be looking at slightly longer auctions where we desperately keep the auctions open and push the opponents from the comfort of the 2 level to the discomfort of the 3 level. Okay, so a little chat about some of the events. So I've just come back from Denham, but at the end of the month I'm going to Two Bridges, which I rather like. And I know it's January, the end of January, so it may not be sunny weather. We may not be sunbathing, but I think we'll have some fun there. It's always lovely there. We take the whole hotel over, as it were, but it only takes 40, if you sort of mean. So it's a nice party. And they do look after us well. So, and I'm back there in June if you prefer June. I have to say, last time we were there in June, it was quite wet, but that's another matter. And then I'm in the Isle of Wight, which I do every year. I do the Isle of Wight, enjoy it. Hopefully with my family this time, because it is in half term, and it'll be the last time it will be in half term. Because next year I will want to be doing half term, maybe going skiing, so we'll see. Okay, so this year it's on the 16th of February, and looking forward to it. Next year it'll probably be a bit earlier in February, just before half term, which then off I will go perhaps to for a ski, probably not on the Glen Shane Pass. I think Vini's suggesting that maybe over to Europe. We'll see. Okay, so what am I doing? Usually I look at a hand evaluation, don't I? So let's do that. It always helps. So let's go to this one. So this one, of course, we're looking at suit, a particular suit. How do we play suit combinations? A lot of them are going to be simple. Some of them are a little bit more tricky, and it's just understanding the subtleties. So here again, very similar to last week. We're in a 3-end contract. There's no interest in spades, hearts, or diamonds. But you've got to decide how to play the club suit. Okay, how do you play the club suit? Okay, so you end up in 3 no trumps. It'll probably go 1 no trump, maybe Stamen, but you'll finish in 3 no trumps. I imagine you get something like a spade lead, let's say. You get a spade lead, and your decision is how are you going to play the club suit. Okay, so I will leave you with that one. Okay, what we do is we go off and do our little seminar, and then we revisit the club suit. Okay, so a lot of them are going to be straightforward, very subtle. Okay, but each time we'll have one of those. I show them to the Friday livers on Friday, and then they have the opportunity to stay up. Of course, some of you will have seen me recorded on Friday. I'd forgotten that, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was continuing that theme, so we will see where that theme takes us, as it were. In terms of holidays abroad, the cruises going strong. There's a group out there now. They'll be due back in I think they come back tomorrow. In fact, John and Becky are coming back tomorrow, but they're on the Valletta. At the moment, they're going on the Balmoral. That's a nice taster cruise, that one. So I think you might quite enjoy that if you've not been on one before. And then, of course, there is Mallorca. We do Mallorca, Croatia and Tunisia at the moment. Those are our thoughts. So we will see where we go with that. All right, what am I doing now? I go to the seminar. I'm losing it, aren't I? You see, this is the problem. I've only just come back from the Reboot. Those of you who don't know what the Reboot is, it's 6 seminars in 3 days. It's, I mean, the clients are there for 5 days, as it were, but the 3 middle days we do 2 seminars a day. It's intense. We had some fun. Yeah, we had some fun, but it is it can be quite tiring, shall we say. So I'm sort of still stuck there at the moment. Okay, so we are, of course, responding to takeout doubles on the site. That's the theme. And let's just go here and press that button. So again, run through those basics now, and then what we'll think about, I think, today is whether we respond in a major or a minor. Okay, and just one very, very simple subtlety which may hold you in good stead. So let's just go through that middle bit, the basics. Basically, you respond to a double as if you are responding to someone who has the equivalent strength of the weak no trump. Clearly not a weak no trump shape. Usually your partner will be short in the doubled suit, often have a singleton. But if you imagine he's got the equivalent of 12 to 14 points, then that's the way you respond. So with 0 to 9, for example, I don't get excited at all. I just do what I'm told my partner's asked me to bid. When I've got 10 to 12 points, it's not unreasonable to think that there may be some kind of game on. So I do want to get that across to my partner. It's my job to do that. Often I will see people get to the game, but get to it the wrong way. The doubler shouldn't really often bid again unless he's got 17 or 18 points. So if I double and you bid a spade, just because I've got 4 spades, I don't get excited here, because you've sort of guessed I've got 4 spades. That's what my double shows. It's really up to the responder to the double to be making the exciting bid, show the excitement. And obviously, if you have an opening hand and your partner's made a takeout double, you should be strolling along to game. Okay, that's important. So with 0 to 9, we just bid cheaply. With the possibility of a game, make a jump response. Tell your partner you got a nice hand. And with 13 or more, your responsibility is to go for game. There's 2 ways of showing strength. One, obviously, is bidding game. That's easy. The other one, of course, is to bid the opponent's suit. Bidding the opponent's suit is one of our one of the things you'll hear me talk about a lot. It does come up a lot in all sorts of different guises. It doesn't really show any particular hand. What it says is, partner, I am strong and I am excited. Okay, so once again, we'll go through those little notes. I'll put them up on the screen rather than go through them. So the top one, clearly we have to respond with 0 points. Include your distribution? Well, essentially you do that because you think you've got a fit. Your partner said he can support any of the suits, so you should regard the fact that you have a fit, and if you have a fit, you include distribution. If the middle player bids, you're allowed to pass. Nice and simple there. We've just done that. We were doing that in the Reboot, funnily enough. So 1 diamond double for takeout, 2 diamonds from the opponents. Now you don't have to respond. So the 0 to 4 points are taken away. Okay. Now I've put 10 to favour the major suits, and that's what we're going to look at today. Okay, whether we bid a major or a longer minor. Okay. Assess the cards in the opener suit. That's relatively straightforward. Essentially, you should always think about the bids as they go on. And when your opponents bid something, that will change the value of your honours. A jack and a queen, not particularly good. A king depends on where the bid was. If the bid was on your right, often the king is valuable. If the bid is on your left, the king may not be so good. Okay, and obviously an ace we love. So when you pass, I put these two sets of figures there. Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 8. That's the minimum, the very minimum holding you would need to pass a one level double. And it's very rare. However, we've all been there. We have a 7 card suit. They open 1 heart and you've got 7 hearts. Well, if your partner happened to double for takeout, you know he's short. With 7 hearts, you know that you're likely to be in a good contract. So when you pass, you are saying, partner, I believe it's the right thing to do because I think they're going down in a contract. So let's go to the topic of today then, the majors or minors. And actually, the point I'm going to make is relatively straightforward, but it's quite interesting. If you expect to make the contract, so if you're hopeful of making the contract you're going to bid to, so if you've got 7 or 8 points opposite a takeout double, you know, you've probably got 20 between you, and if you've got a fit, you're likely to make a contract. If you're going to make it, well then the major is worth more than a minor. However, if you do not expect to make the contract, you want to be in the safest contract possible. Does that make sense? So if you are expecting to make the contract, so you believe you know your partner's shown an opening hand and you've got a decent hand, very often what you want to do here is to be bidding the major because you've got a chance of making the best score. However, if either you think you're going down or perhaps you are going to be competing, then what you may want to be is bidding your longest suit. It's very subtle. Okay, so generally we favour the majors, even if we have fewer cards. Remember, I'm talking about 4 cards or more. Clearly, if you only have 1 4-card suit or 1 long suit, you bid it. But if you've got a 4-card major and a 5-card minor, it can be tricky to judge, can't it? Okay, so with weaker hands, generally we're going to bid the longer suit because actually we may well be going down. So of course the value of the trick doesn't matter. If you make 8 tricks in 3 diamonds, okay, that's worth the same as 8 tricks in 3 spades. However, if you've got a 7-card fit in spades and a 9-card fit in diamonds, you would want to be in diamonds. Okay, you might go 1 off, but in spades you may go 3 off. Okay, so generally if you're weak, you want to find the safest contract. Okay, but if you're strong, you want to find the best contract. And that it can be difficult to judge, and sometimes we will get it wrong. Now, I had a question from someone on the Reboot, and they said, when we double 1 heart, do we always promise 4 spades? And the answer is completely and utterly no. Because if you're dealt 15 high card points and your opponent's open in a suit you've got a doubleton in, you know, you're probably going to make a takeout double, aren't you? You're a bit stronger. If I'm the doubler and I have a weak hand, so maybe I've only got 11 points or 12 points, if I'm on the borderline, then I'll always have 4 of the unbid major. But if I'm stronger, well, clearly I've got to make a bid. So you can't always guarantee that you've got a 4-card major. It's very different to a negative double. That's a very different situation. 1 club, 1 spade overcall, I use that double to promise 4 hearts. But if it's a 1 heart opening bid, when I do a double for takeout, I'm saying I'm short in hearts, partner, you choose a suit. Most of the time I will have 4 spades. But if I'm dealt 3 spades, a singleton heart, 5 diamonds and 4 clubs, you know, quite often I'll do a takeout double, particularly if the 5-card suit is weak. you know, jack to 5 diamonds, ace king to 3 spades, and an ace to 4 clubs or something like that. So, or ace queen to 4 clubs. I want to get in the auction, as you know. Okay, let's look. So 1 heart here, double, pass. Okay, 1 heart, double, pass, and it's your response. Okay. So what's important in auctions like this is that if you make a response, it's very rare that you'll end up finding another suit. Usually your choice of suit is what's going to be the final suit contract. Because if your partner doubles and rebids in a suit, he is showing a very, very, very strong hand. So if I respond in diamonds here, okay, if I respond in diamonds, that will be where we finish. And it may well be a decent contract. Okay. However, I think you've got a nice hand here. So I'm very hopeful of making a contract. And therefore, what I will tend to do here is bid spades. For me, I think it's worth 10 points because of the shape. Okay, so the 5-4-2-2 shape. Okay, those of you who count losers, sort of an 8 loser hand, it's got 2 aces in it. So although it's only got 9 points, I would feel I want to show encouragement. I would feel with the extra shape, move the 2 of diamonds into either the hearts or the clubs, and you'd have a balanced hand, and I think 1 spade would be enough. But the crucial element here is that I'm bidding spades. Also, don't forget, spades win the auction more easily, but I think a jump to 2 spades here is a good bid. Now, I guess, who knows, you could have an auction that I suppose you might get the chance where you could jump to 2 spades and maybe North bids 3 clubs. Doesn't seem very likely. But if 3 clubs then came back round to you, you might then choose to bid 3 diamonds to give partner a choice, and you might find you've got a 9-card diamond fit and only a 7-card spade fit. But more often than not, spades is your denomination, and you want to actually encourage your partner. Who knows, there might be a game on here. Okay, because you're not that far short of the idea of an opening hand. An 8 loser hand, yes, it's got the double doubleton, which we don't like. Okay, but with the 2 aces rather than 2 kings. So put 2 kings in here and clearly it's a lot worse hand, same number of losers. Here with 2 aces, I think you can afford to show that you are interested, okay? All right, so here we would jump to 2 spades rather than bidding 2 or 3 diamonds. Remember, if you were bidding diamonds, you should probably bid 3 diamonds here. So if you were going to respond in diamonds, and again, I'm not so comfortable with that. So you're expecting to make the contract, and so therefore, you aim for the more valuable suit. Okay? You may not be in your best fit. Okay? Here it turns out, as you can see, your partner has only got 3 diamonds, but you've got to fit in both. On this occasion, once you make your jump to 2 spades, your partner does indeed have 15 points here, and he might jump to 4 spades. If he just had 3-card spade support there, so if I move the 6 of spades over, I think maybe he would try to look for something else. He might try a heart. As it happens, it turns out that even if he was just 3 spades, it might be a decent contract for spades. So, and I often say this to people, don't forget that, you know, a 7-card fit, what we call a Moisian fit, can be okay sometimes. So you're just looking for your best spot. Here, as you can see, 4 spades is a great contract. You're likely just to lose a couple of hearts and a diamond. But it's important that West gets excited. Here, if West just bids 1 spade or 2 diamonds, for example, maybe 3 diamonds, partner might try another bid, but over 2 diamonds or 1 spade, there's no reason for East to bid again. He's only got a 15-point hand, a balanced hand. So if you're showing less than 10, fewer than 10 points, then he might not bid again. So that's why I think it's important that you jump here to 2 spades. Okay. So how about this one? That's a good question. I'll just quickly nip back here. For me, vulnerability has no bearing at all. Okay, so vulnerability on this particular hand will have no bearing because you're trying to make a contract. If you're trying to make a contract, It won't have much bearing. Sometimes when you're playing teams of 4 bridge, you might push for games more when you're vulnerable rather than not. But playing pairs, okay, generally, if you're aiming to make contracts, vulnerability won't carry much sway. I suppose you might think partner might have doubled on slightly lighter hands at non-vulnerable. But okay, let's have a look at this one and a different start. This time it's 3 clubs double, and it's your bid. So it's 3 clubs double, pass, and it's your bid. We'll call it level. Okay, what do you think? And those of you who know my seminars obviously go for the diamonds rather than the spades. So on a hand like this, clearly there's a good chance that you've got a spade fit. Okay, but I don't think you're necessarily expecting to make a contract here. Okay, and so really what you would like to do is finish in the safest contract. Your partner really should have 3 or more diamonds. There will be times, often against preempts, you're dealt 13, 14 points, you've got a double tone club, you sort of feel you've got to make a bid, because if you don't, partner probably won't be able to. You know, with 14 or 15 points, you could have a game on. Now, you're not always dealt 4 cards in both unbid majors. Does that make sense? So I would say probably only 50% of the time will you definitely, well, maybe a bit more, maybe 60% of the time you might have a spade fit. But you'll only have a 4-4 fit. And when you're trying to keep control, you know, so let's say you've drawn trumps, that might only leave 2 trumps left, and they might just exhaust those trumps because you haven't got many high cards, can you see? So I think you want to play with the most trumps you can. Does that make sense? So here you're looking, you know, whenever you're expecting that maybe you won't make the contract, the value of tricks is irrelevant. Going down costs 50 whether I'm in spades or diamonds. That's if I'm non-vulnerable, I should say. Okay, so here that you have safety in your length. Okay, and not only that, don't forget, when you're going down, quite often a 5-3 fit can work better than a 4-4-1 because you'll find trump control easier. Bear in mind that when there's a preempt, there could easily be a bad break. So if you're 4-4, you could easily find there's 4 against you, whereas if you're 5-3, if there's 4 against you, you've got longer trumps than them. Okay, I know they're poor diamonds, but all you're doing is looking for length is strength. So we would bid 3 diamonds here. Here's your partner's hand. Would we double for takeout with that? Well, I hope so. I think it's reasonable. You are short in clubs and you've got ace, ace, king, king. I mean, on this particular hand, well done if you pass. You'll actually probably get the best score if you do pass 3 clubs, because 3 clubs will maybe just drift 1 off. But I'm not sure it's easy. I would feel I want to compete for the hand with this hand. Now look at the difference between a 3 diamond contract and a 3 spade contract. Okay, a 3 spade contract is thoroughly grotesque, as it were. It's not something you're going to want to be playing. You're not probably going to be able to draw trumps, or the opponents might even draw trumps for you. You'll run out of trumps, and before perhaps you've established your diamonds, you may well find that the opponents are running a very, very, very long club suit. So yeah, 3 spades is awful. Could even go 3 off and be worse than 3 clubs making. Okay, whereas 3 diamonds here, surely you've got chances. You've got chances of making. Well, I'll show you the full hand. Let's have a look. So here is the full hand. So 3 clubs open by North. I would feel, I mean, well done, as I say, if you pass, it will get you a good score, because I think you will just about get 3 clubs 1 off. Because obviously you're going to end up leading the ace, king of hearts, and it turns out you're able to give your partner a heart ruff. And then there's 2 aces to come. So three clubs would go off. What about 3... And 3 diamonds, I think probably 1 off. Unfortunately, the king of spades is in the wrong, and the ace queen are sitting over the king. So they are going to manage to take a few tricks against you. I think It's a close one. If they get a spade ruff, I think you might get a club discard, if that makes sense. So if they manage to get a spade ruff, I think you'll be able to discard a club on the fourth spade, in which case it's the same difference. So I think you're losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tricks. So 3 diamonds will go 1 off, but of course it's just 50. It doesn't make any difference. Whereas 3 spades, ouch. 3 spades is really nasty, isn't it? I think you might even find yourself doubled. You might even, because I think South will be thinking that 3 clubs might make. So I think from South's point of view, he might need to double 3 spades. So that would be nasty. And it's all well and good going to 4 diamonds, but I'm afraid 4 diamonds will get doubled. And 4 diamonds doubled 2 off is a lot worse than 3 diamonds -1. So it's very subtle here. I mean, I've got it as 3 spades probably drifting 3 off, whereas 3 diamonds is just 1 off. I've said north-south game there. I think I mean east-west game. So apologies for that. Yeah, so absolutely, and it's interesting, isn't it, when you have these total tricks, sometimes they go wrong when both sides have that opportunity of getting ruffs. And so you're right, there's 2 big fits here, 2 9-card fits, but it turns out that neither side can make 9 tricks. So apologies there. The scores that you are seeing there is for the vulnerability east-west game, and that's actually what I think I was planning it to be. So imagine it's east-west game rather than north-south game, because I didn't show you the vulnerability on the original. But the key here is very, very subtle, but a lot of us, you'll notice in my summary of notes, points to note as it were, I say generally favour the majors, and that is the case. But of course, that is when you think you might make it. I mean, so probably even if I just put the king of diamonds in now, it might go a bit wrong with the king of diamonds. I don't know, at the 3 level, I think I'd still bid 3 diamonds. I need to have about 10 or more points to be hoping to make the game contract confidently. Also note there's a big difference when there's 2 majors missing to 1 major. If this is a 3 heart opener, okay, and it goes double, well, of course 4 diamonds is a level higher than 3 spades. So it's a little bit subtle. So you might try 3 spades. If it was 3 hearts double pass to you, I think you might try it. If it went 3 spades and it got doubled, well, you could always go back to 4 diamonds, which you would have to have gone anyway, okay? But over 3 clubs here, 3 diamonds makes a lot of sense, okay? And gets you a decent score, okay? Clearly 2 off would be nasty. Will 3 clubs make it ever? I don't think so. I think the defence should take 3 clubs off, but I think that's unlucky. And well, as I say, very well done if you manage to pass 3 clubs. I like to compete. I like to compete aggressively. And it is interesting what Andy's saying there. There's something called the law of total tricks, which we tend to bid more on when we've got big fits. But on this particular hand, it is way off the mark. What it usually suggests is if you add the 2 longest fits, 9 cards in clubs for north-south and 9 cards in diamonds for east-west, it suggests that the 2 sides between them can make 18 tricks on this hand. It actually turns out that the north-south and east-west can only make 8 tricks. So the total number of tricks available is just 16 rather than 18. So it's always interesting. Okay, well that's what I'm covering then today. Very simple, not a huge amount to it, but majors and minors are really important. I mean, I suppose you could say it's the same when you're overcalling or doing whatever, but often once you've found a fit, usually, and when you're overcalling, you tend to stick to it anyway. And once you've opened the bidding, you're bidding constructively and expecting to make. It's only in these scenarios, particularly when you're responding with a very weak hand to your partner's takeout double, that's when you will tend to show the longer minor rather than the major. Okay, but if in doubt, bid the major. Okay, if in doubt, bid the major. It tends to be better, particularly obviously if you've got 2 suits of the same length. Okay. All right, let's go back to that hand. So I tell you what we will do is we'll actually bid it so that I can get a lead. 1 no trump. I'm just going to skip Stayman if that's all right. I think I would bid Stayman with the hand though. I would generally have bid Stayman. Clearly we wouldn't find a fit here. Okay, with a small doubleton. Okay. So 7 of spades is led, and what I want you to do is plan how you are going to play the club suit. Okay. Someone asking about generally the evaluation of doubles and how we do them. It's a good question, Martin. We'll be coming across a lot of doubles at various times. We're doing some on Fridays at the moment when we're talking about protective doubles and things like that. And we will probably in the future look at more doubles, more, shall we say, more exotic doubles, and see what they mean. Okay, so here we are. And it's all about the club suit, the play, relatively, isn't it? Is there any difference? Is it just a matter of finding the queen? Well, the point here is if the suit breaks properly, or well, if the suit breaks 3-2, all you need to do is find the queen. Because your jack and 10, if you take the right finesse, so if you take the finesse through the correct person, if you guess who has the queen, then you will make all 4 tricks. Okay? And if the jack loses to the queen, well, you've got the 10. Okay? The 5-0 break, it might make a matter, but more pertinent is the 4-1 breaks. Okay, the 4-1 breaks. So 3-2, it doesn't matter. The 4-1 break, of course, it does. And that is because very often the west or east hand, whoever has the 4 clubs, will have queen 9. So imagine you play your ace of clubs off first, and then you play a small club to the jack. That wins, but unfortunately East discards. I think you'd have a club loser still, because the queen 9 will sit over your 10-8. But if the clubs break 4-1 the other way, and you choose to lead the king of clubs and then perhaps the jack of clubs, well then when the jack of clubs goes queen and ace, if we see West discard, we have the 10 and 8 over the 9. So we are finessing towards the stronger holding beneath the jack and 10. So remember, the jack and 10 are equivalent, so don't feel the jack is stronger than the 10 because you hold them both. It's rather like the ace and king. They are equivalents. So if in doubt, if you feel you are guessing, which we are, we have no knowledge of who has the queen or not. And in fact, I'm going to move the queen from east to west in a moment. Okay, so what we are doing is saying, look, we've got to guess. So the best thing for us to do is guess the way that we can make the most tricks if we're right. So if I lead the king of clubs and then the jack of clubs, if the suit breaks 4-1, we should be able to pick it up. So let's open up the hand. Okay. And let's just check that that's true. Okay, so we'll win the king, and my plan is to play clubs this way. A club to the king, and then I'm going to lead the jack of clubs. Okay, now, obviously the computer knows if it covers, it's not going to work anyway. But, I mean, let me just quickly change that. I just want to show you if it gets covered. So let's just take control here. So when I lead the jack of clubs, as I say, it's perfectly reasonable to duck the jack of clubs there because the computer knows that it's queen 9 is dead anyway. But if they cover with the queen, we put the ace on. Okay, it doesn't, you know, let's say they discard a spade. We now know our 10 and 8 are winners. So later on, we can do it now, we can cross over to the ace, and because West has discarded, we can then pick up the suit by playing to the 8 of clubs. Okay. So let's just contrast that. If we just flick over to the next one. Okay, here I've thrown the clubs over to the other side. So I'll just quickly bid the hand out to there to 3 no trumps. Again, I've skipped Stayman if that's okay. Okay, I would have bid Stayman, I just wanted a quicker auction. Okay, again, let's just have a spade lead. We will win it. Now this time, again, remember it's a 50-50 guess, but this time you decided to guess that West had it. Remember, it's a complete guess. But you've guessed in such a way that if the suit breaks 4-1, you will not be able to make 4 tricks. Because look, you lead the 10, you're very pleased to have guessed correctly, but unfortunately, better not throw that one, it doesn't matter. I'm not looking at the other suits. Okay, unfortunately, of course, because the clubs are the way they are, I know that West has the rest of the clubs. I can even cross over to the ace of diamonds. The problem is that whatever I do, West has a club trick. So we try a club, West can put the 7 in, and as you can see, we have a club loser. So whenever you I'll just I'm going to go back to the previous one. Whenever you're playing a suit and you have no information whether the queen is with East or West, then choose the way of playing it which will give you the best chance of making extra tricks. So here, what we're saying is, it doesn't matter if the suit breaks 3-2. Clearly, if we guess right, we make it. If we don't guess right, we lose to the queen. But when it breaks 4-1, it makes sense to lead towards the ace 10-8. And that 8 is the difference. If I shift the 8 to the north hand, then of course I would lead the other way. It depends where the 8 of clubs is. And if it was King Jack 4-2 in dummy, sorry, in the north hand, and Ace 10 7-2, okay, Ace 10 7-2, okay, then of course I'm still, that 7 would be important because the singleton might be the 9 or the 8. Very subtle, but if in doubt, when it's a complete guess, always try to lead up to the 1. Okay, so don't get me wrong. We're not expecting a bad split here, but it's a complete guess who has the queen, and so so from that point of view, we can choose. Now, of course, there could be entries, problems, whatever. You'll notice I've deliberately given you the king and ace and king in one hand, king and ace and king in another. So there's no entry problems at all. So you can choose whatever way you want to play the clubs. There's nothing guiding you, other than the fact that you do it in your favour. Okay? So we're not expecting a bad split in clubs. We're just going to guess that East has the queen. And the reason we're choosing to go through the East having the queen is because if the suit happens to break 4-1, we'll end up making 4 tricks. Okay? Does that make sense? So generally, if in doubt, you're leading towards... Well, it's difficult here because it's not the stronger holding in essence. So I could have had the king 10 in the south hand and the ace jack in the north hand. And of course you think, oh, ace jack is stronger. It's the stronger holding underneath the big high cards. Okay. I mean, someone mentioning the lead there, doesn't it make... We're not always sure whether they're long or short in a suit. So, for example, if I go to the next one here, you'll notice that the queen of spades is going to be led here against 3 no trumps. But it turns out that West has longer clubs. Okay, so in a way, you could say that that's a subtle thing. But if you had 4 spades and 4 clubs, what would you generally lead? Generally, of course, you're going to be leading the spade. So I'm not sure there's much inference from the opening lead there. But, you know, let me. If you, I mean, if let me, I'm just going to go to the one back again. The 7 of spades leads makes it very difficult to judge, actually. Okay. Could you show the second hand played correctly? Well, the second hand, what I would be doing is playing it the same way. So here, I would have taken the finesse. So let's do this second hand. Queen of spades would be led. So I've got to go through the bidding again. Bear with me. 3 no trumps. Again, don't forget, I would have bid Stayman, but I'm just making a quicker auction. Here, I would lead the queen of spades. And I am going to be playing the suit, as I said. So I would have led a club to the king, and I would lead the jack of clubs back here. Okay, so I would of course have lost. I'm trying to work out the most sensible discard there. I would have lost to the queen, but I'll make the same number of tricks as if I'd finessed the other way, interestingly, because I'm making 3 club tricks. And as we saw, if we finessed through the queen and got it right, we still only made 3 club tricks. And that is the point of the hand, so that on this one, on this 4-1 break here, okay, even if we guess the club's right, we lose a club trick. Does that make sense? So if I lead the way I have done to the king and then the jack next, on this hand I make 3 tricks, which is the same as if I'd done the other way, whereas on the previous hand I will end up with 4. So that's the subtlety. I hope that's sort of vaguely less hazy, okay? And the point, so the point is on 4-1 breaks, you can only actually make 4 from the king, okay? As someone said, yeah, absolutely, Brian, great point there on this one. If West does make the mistake of leading a club here, of course, then we do indeed make 4 club tricks. Good point. So if they make the mistake of leading a club here, of course, we would win the 8 at trick 1, and of course, we'd assume that the lead is away from the queen and finesse through West. So that really would be a disastrous lead. And we've talked quite a lot about leads from 1 honour, and we're a little bit dubious of doing them, hence the Queen Jack 10 safe lead there. Okay, well, I hope we've had some fun there. I've been talking for longer than I thought, so I better give you a bidding quiz, so let me find that. There you go. I think this one's quite an interesting one. 3 spades from your partner, 3 spades from your partner, 3 no trumps, overcall, and then it's your bid. So I think that's quite an interesting. 3 spades from your partner, 3 no trump, overcall, and it's your bid. Okay. So have a think about that. You can get the answer, of course, on the website. Our prize winner this week was Bruce McCarter, and I've got McCarter, I think it is, and I've got quite a few prize winners from the previous weeks that I will be contacting over the next week or so. So sorry about the lack of contact. You will be contacted, hopefully, about playing at the end of this month. So well done to all of those winners. And all it remains for me to say is, enjoy the week, keep warm, and join me if you fancy for the teams on Wednesday or for our Friday sessions. And just enjoy the week, I suppose. I'm going to talk to some beginners now, I think. So have fun. Let's go to there. Here we go. So I've just got to nudge the screen along. And of course, with the beginners, we are talking overcalls. Okay, overcalls. So what is an overcall? It is when the opponents have opened the bidding and we choose to make a bid as the other side. Okay, unfortunately, it does mean we have a whole new set of rules that we have to learn. It's almost as if when we open the bidding, we are speaking in English. When we're overcalling, we're speaking in French. It is a different language, and so it's important. Okay, nowhere near as complicated as the opening language, because for the opening bidder, we have a lot to talk about, but it is still another language. So they have basically overcalls have a different meaning to opening bids, and that's the crucial element, that you don't need quite the strength. So as we'll see. Your ambitions can be very different. And of course, what we talked about last week was the idea of understanding the scoring. Not making your contract can be good. Because, for example, if you don't have many points between you, you and your partner, really your opponent should be making lots of points, shouldn't they? So if you just go, for example, one off, that only gives them 50 points. Maybe they should have made more. So what that means is we might be tempted to overcall on slightly weaker hands. So let's look at what we mean by a simple overcall. 1 diamond from south, 1 spade from west. So remember, when we first start learning this wonderful game of bridge, we don't allow the 2 sides to bid. If south bids 1 diamond, north is going to respond and they decide on their best contract. But the rules of the game say that anybody is allowed to make a bid. So here, south started by saying his best suit was diamonds. West has now made an overcall. The first important rule about overcalling is it promises at least 5 cards in the suit. So now we're already speaking a different language, aren't we? South's 1 diamond opening bid only promised 4. And it generally promised 11 or 12 points. Let's see what kind of point count 1 spade is going to suggest. It suggests at least 5 cards. How many points do we think it suggests? Well, generally, it's about, your minimum would be about an ace less than an opening bid. So I guess I would say about 8 points, okay, for a 1 level overcall. That's important. If you make a 2 level overcall, we're very much closer to an opening bid kind of strength. You know, 11 or 12 points, okay, with a long suit, as we'll see later. But at the 1 level, 8 or more points is enough, okay. However, when I am weak, I will always have a strong suit. So not just long, but strong. Not like an opening bid. When you open 1 diamond, south doesn't have to have strong diamonds. He's just saying long diamonds. Okay? When I bid on weak hands as an overcaller, so west here 1 spade, if I'm weak in high card points, I will be strong in the suit. So let me show you what I mean. Here we have this 1 diamond opening, and then it's your bid. So 1 diamond is opened by south, it's your bid. You do not have the strength to make an opening bid, but the opponents have opened, so now you're in a different situation. And as the overcalling side, this is quite okay for a 1 spade bid. Okay, so it goes 1 diamond, 1 spade. Partner, I've got 8 or more points. I've got 5 or more spades. Have a think about it. What do you think, partner? And remember, we're not necessarily going to end up making a contract. The lovely thing about this bid, though, is that it tells your partner where your strength lies. You haven't really got much else, so hopefully if your partner ever gets the lead, what do you think he'll lead? Yep, exactly. I'm hoping he's going to lead spades, and I think that will work rather well. Okay, I've given you a few more points now. Once again, though, it's south who's opened the bidding. What do you think here? Well, of course, 8 is your minimum strength of hand, but of course you can be stronger. So again, I hope you will be happy to bid 1 spade here. It's a lot stronger than the previous hand, but it's rather like an opening bid. An opening bid can be on 12 points. It can also be on 19 points. An overcall can be on 8 points. It can also be on about 15 or 16 points. So a similar range for an overcall as for an opening bid. And one of the reasons we do it on lighter hands, on weaker hands is because in many ways there's fewer points left in the pack, because when one person's already opened, your average point count is getting closer to 8 rather than 10. Does that make sense? If one person's already used up, let's say 15 of the points, well, there's only 25 points for the left for the rest of you, as it were. So hence we try to bid a little bit more. So 1 spade's a good bid there. Okay, partner, I've got 5 or more spades and 8 or more points. Okay, and here of course you've got 12. How about this one? 1 diamond by South. What do you think? You have 11 points, but do you have a 5-card suit? And of course the answer is no. You can't overcall 1 spade here. 1 spade would show a 5-card suit. It's really important that you stick to that. Okay, and this is what I mean by a different language. Even if you've got an opening hand, so here I've given you 11, but if you had 12 points here, because South has opened, you are now speaking a different language. Does that make sense? So South and North, because South is open, South and North are playing in English. We are now the French players, okay? We are the overcallers, or whatever you would say. Okay, so your overcall would promise 5 cards. So we're going to pass. We don't have a 5-card suit. Okay, we will see there will be 1 more option to you. Okay, there will be 1 more option for competing to the hand, and that will be, we'll show another time where you will be able to do what's called a double, but that will come across later. Here we're looking at overcalls. You do not have a 5-card suit, so you can't bid it. Okay, and last but not least, 1 more hand, 1 diamond, and it's your bid. You have 8 points and you have 5 spades. Hold on. What I said though was that if you are weak in high card points, you must have a strong 5-card suit to bid it. The problem comes is if you bid a spade here, do you remember what I said about your partner leading? If your partner gets the lead, maybe he's on opening lead against a final contract of, I don't know, 3 no trumps, he will lead the suit that you've overcalled in, because generally our overcalls are strong and your spades are not very good, are they? Okay, your clubs are rather nice, but you haven't got many of them. So when you are weak, then you need a strong suit. So here we would pass. Okay. So with 8 points, clearly you're making quite an aggressive bid. If you choose to bid, you should have a good suit. Okay. So we are talking overcalling. It is not easy. Okay, because we're starting a new language. As I say, the good news is the language is not anywhere near as extensive as the opening languages we'll see, but it is a very different language. So we've got to regard ourselves as either being English and playing the opening and responding hands, or French with the overcalling hands. Okay, and we'll try and expand on that as we go through the coming weeks. Thanks very much for your time. See you again soon.